Hello and welcome to the next Skyline game engine tutorial. In this tutorial we're going to look at Skyline's preset system. This system can store a single or multiple presets. A single item like a model can be stored, or you can have actions or any other Skyline attachable item. So we can have a preset as an NPC, we could have a player character, or we can have just a static object with its rigid body attached. To make a preset is pretty straightforward. And what we'll do here, we'll make something a little bit more complex. I'll add a couple of objects to the scene. And these objects, press F to escape from the system. Let's zoom in on that, pressing Alt and using the scroll wheel. Let's select the disk and move that on place on top of this cone. If you press Alt and we go above, we can get it reasonably central. Don't have to be too perfect because it is just a quick example. Select the sphere, press T and place it on top of the object. Keeping Alt pressed, zoom in, press the middle mouse wheel you can to pan. Keeping Alt pressed all this time and we can get the placement. Next we're going to select the objects. We'll select the cone flat top, we'll select the ball, grab it onto the cone flat top, select the cylinder disc and drag that on. Now that has attached these objects to this parent object. So if I was to now move the parent object, the children will follow. But if I move a child, it'll stay where you put it. Again, if we go back to the parent, move the parent, all children follow. Let's put that back. Next, I'm going to add a chamfer box and press F to release that. Right click in the scene, select utility and an empty node. Now the empty node is the basic form of any object we can add into Skyline. When we see a model, it's an empty node with a model attached to that. Or we can have a camera attached to that, or we can have lights attached to that, or any of the internal components that Skyline manages. So on this empty node, we're going to use it as an axis. Select the chamfer box and drag that onto the empty node. And we'll move the chamfer box up a little. Using Alt, my right mouse button and the scroll wheel to get myself a good position in the scene. Select the empty node. We can see it's attached and parented to the chamfer. Or I should say the chamfer is a child of this parent. And we can see that by moving the empty node. Put the empty node in the centre roughly of our little stack there. Next we'll make it do something interesting. We'll select the empty node, we'll go to its properties, select the lightning, and inside there entity and entity rotate. To add this we can double click. To remove this use this little arrow, or alternatively we can click this arrow to add it. What we're doing here is adding an action to our scene entity, and this action is entity rotate. We go to the properties and we scroll, open up this header, we can see we have values. If we select animate, we can see now that the child is rotating with the parent empty node, and we can speed that up or slow that down, reverse it, and so on. There we go. While we're at it, we'll just stop the animate, we'll select the chamfer box. We need to remove the rigid body because it doesn't need to be there on this object. So we select that in the action editor and we left arrow to remove it. There is another way to get actions onto your object. Is select the object, right click, into their section actions. You can open the action editor here, or we have a quick entity rotator there. And we'll make this one just spin like crazy. There we go. That's all working. To make this now into one object, back in the scene entity list, we'll drag the empty node onto the cone, and it is all now one object. To prove that, we'll select the parent, and we can move that. Next, we'll look for an effect just to make this a bit more interesting. I'll get an effect, get the magic, we'll select this one, F to release, select the effect, move it onto the chamfer box, Alt to rotate, keyboard press, the camera will move with the object, put it where we want it. Okay. Now let's parent the fairy dust to the chamfer box. So we grab the fairy dust, drag it onto the chamfer box, and there we have it. If we press play now, or animate, animate's better at this stage because we can adjust things as it's happening. And we can now see the box leaving a little trail behind it. Now the purpose of this tutorial is to show you what a preset is. Well, now we've got something worthy of being a preset, we can rename this object, and we'll call that, I don't know, MAD. And presets are very easy to make. Either right click in the scene, whoops, sorry, I'm moving the scene, and select Save as Preset. But what I find far quicker, far better solution is to select the parent object and drag that into the Asset Manager. It'll ask, would you like this to be added to the resources? We certainly would. And now we have mad.preset. Doesn't look much at the minute, so let's move in closer to this stack. Select the mad preset, and there's a little camera icon here. Press that and it'll put a little image onto our preset. To prove this all works, let's select mad, delete it. Now drag our preset into the scene. We can drag another one, we can drag another one, we can drag another one, press animate, and off they all go. And that's it for this tutorial. Thank you for listening. Bye.